So we will call this meeting to order. And then we have introductions because we could have some new members on the board this time around. So my name's Lisa Ridge. I'm the Highway Director for Monroe County and currently the Madam Chair of the board.
Sarah Ryder-Band, CAC Chair and Vice Chair of the Policy Committee.
And so I know nobody wants to talk over each other. So next we'll have Adam.
Adam Wason, Public Works Director for the City of Bloomington, serving as a proxy for Mayor John Hamilton today. I think you folks are all aware Nate Nickel has taken the official position from Public Works, and so I'm just here for Mayor Hamilton today.
Thanks, Adam. Steve?
Hi, I'm Steve, and I've been understudying for the role of Matt Flaherty for some time now, and I hope that I can give him give a good performance.
Thank you. Pam?
I'm Pamela Samples, Ellisville Town Council.
Dave?
David Warren.
Rachel?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm Dave Warren, County Plan Commission, and for some reason I can't change my name right now, so it should say Dave Warren.
Thank you. Nate?
Hi, everybody. Nate Nickel with the City of Bloomington Public Works Department.
Thank you. Penny?
I'm Penny Githens, Monroe County Commissioner.
Jason?
Hello, Jason Bannock, representing Indiana University.
Kate?
Hi, I'm Kate Wilkes, County Council.
And am I missing any other members of the board?
Yourself.
Chris Wallman?
Hi, I'm Chris Wallman, Seymour District, NDOT.
Thanks, Chris. And I think that's it, as far as I can see from my end.
Is Penny here?
Pardon?
Is Penny here?
Yeah, she introduced herself.
Oh, okay, missed it.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Penny.
Next on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda as presented.
Move approval of agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a couple seconds on that. Do we need to do a roll call for that, Ryan?
I believe so.
Okay.
I can start that now. Okay, Githens.
Here, or yes.
Wason.
Yes.
Samples.
Yes.
Volan.
Yes.
Nickel.
Yes.
Ridge.
Yes.
Wallman. Yes. Ryder-Band.
You were muted, Sarah.
I'll take a thumbs up as a yes.
Yes.
Bannock.
Yes.
Warren. Yes.
Wiltz.
Yes.
That is 11-0.
Okay, so that motion carries for approval of the agenda. Item number 3 is nominations and election of officers for calendar year 2021. The first item would be for chair.
If willing, Madam Chair, I would like to nominate you for chair in 2021.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Kate and Penny. Do we have any other nominations? Well, don't everybody jump at the same time.
Are you trying to unload it or what?
Yeah.
So do we need to do those separately for chair and vice chair, or could I make a motion for the vice chair?
If you don't have contested seats, you can do them as a slate.
Do them together?
Yeah.
I would nominate Sarah as vice chair again, if she's acceptable to that.
I'm willing to serve.
Second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other nominations? Not seeing any. A roll call from Ryan.
Okay, Wason,
Yes.
Samples,
Yes.
Volan,
Yes.
Nickel,
Yes.
Ridge,
Yes.
Wallman, yes, Band,
Yes.
Bannock,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Wiltz,
Yes.
Githens.
Yes.
That also is 11-0.
All right, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity of letting me chair for another year. And thank you, Sarah, for accepting to be my little running partner there and partner in crime. So approval of the minutes for November 13th, 2020.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Sarah and a second from Steve. Any comments from the board or corrections? Anything from the public? Okay, seeing none. Brian, for roll call?
Sure. Samples,
Yes.
Volan,
Yes.
Nickel,
Yes.
Ridge,
Yes.
Wallman, yes, Band,
She said yes.
was that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Bannock,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Wiltz,
Yes.
Githens,
Yes.
Wason.
Yes.
Thank you. That is 11-0 as well.
All right, moving on, communications from the chair. I just want to welcome everyone to 2021. Looks like we made it through 2020, a very difficult year with the COVID. And hopefully sometime we'll all be back in the City of Bloomington building for our meetings in public someday. So anyway, I wish everybody a healthy, happy 2021. Reports from officers and or committees, Citizens Advisory Committee.
Yes, Citizens Advisory Committee met in November, and there was no real business to transact, but we spent some time really beginning to review again the Complete Streets policy, which I guess I'll remind other MPO members was actually originated here in Bloomington. We were the first in the state. Now, what's given to be a norm was particularly unusual then. And we're going to look at it in depth because we still would like to have some teeth in this policy, which so far doesn't have them. Ours is an unusual area because, and we'll get into that later, but because we are both rural and urban. And so it makes it more difficult, but we still think that there's more that can be done with this policy. That's it.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah? Seeing none. Technical Advisory Committee. I think that's usually Lou, and I don't see him on here. And I think Paul Satterley is the vice for that, and he is not here also this afternoon. So
I could give a brief report. It was
okay,
the
that'd be great.
approval of the only thing of substance was the technical committee met and approved the NDOT target performance measures, which were subsequently included into the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. And that was the only item of any action taken by the committee.
Thank you, Pat.
Sure.
Reports from the MPO staff. The first item is the CY 2021 Policy Committee meeting schedule.
Ryan?
There it is. All right, so on the screen right now is our schedule for all three of our committees for 2021. The schedule that is in this packet is the updated and correct schedule. So please go off of this one or the one that is also posted on our MPO website. The policy committee meetings, as you know, are always on the second Friday of each month at 1:30, except for July and December. And the technical advisory committee meeting and citizens advisory committee meetings always happen on the fourth Wednesday of each month at 10 o'clock and 6:30, respectively. Also with the July and December break. An exception to that, just like this last year, is the month of November, where holidays are pushing each of those meetings up by just 1 week.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Any questions or comments from board members? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to Metropolitan Planning Organization 101.
Okay, as veterans of the committee would know, in January of every year during the organizational meeting, and then also we'll pass this out too later on. We distribute the MPO 101 PowerPoint program, obviously telling us, reminding everybody of what an MPO is, some of what we do, why we do it, some of the functions, products, structure, best practices, challenges, resources. Key concepts are we're under a requirement to perform coordinated transportation planning in the urbanized area for the eligibility of federal funding. We also involve extensively here in Bloomington, public and stakeholder involvement, collaboration, multimodalism, intermodalism. We have a requirement for fiscal constraint on all of our projects. We're also looking at systems management, maintenance and operations, and safety and security. And then if you go through the program too, it's a what, a why, who. I'm not going to read all of these, but it's just a refresher to everyone. And then we may have other members appointed to the policy committee later on as boards and commissions meet later on this month. And we will make sure that we do this. And then the staff, Ryan and I, are always available to review all of this with anybody on the policy committee, technical committee, or the citizen advisory committee. And we do this on a one-on-one basis. We used to do it one-on-one physically. Obviously, we can't do that anymore. But we're always available to do Zoom meetings, either with Google Meets or Microsoft Teams or any other virtual platform right now from now until eternity, it looks like, to go over all of the MPO 101 items. Some of this is always a refresher for Ryan and myself, even though I've been doing this since 1979. There's always a new wrinkle here and there. And this policy was this presentation was updated Wednesday with a few key pieces of information. So we continuously update MPO 101 throughout the entire year. But we ask that you review it at your leisure, preferably with a nice beverage and a dessert of some type. And let us know if you have any questions of any type at all. Or if you have any questions right now, for that matter, Ryan and I'd be happy to answer those.
Yes, is there any particular beverage you recommend to review it with?
Well, mine is non-alcoholic. I don't know about anybody else. Adult beverages, I think, are the terms that I used otherwise. I mean, Mountain Dew and water and milk are my preferred beverages. Keeps the body strong. So.
Just out of curiosity, I want to say it was the early 1980s, but how long has the MPO been in existence here locally?
The Bloomington MPO, I believe, was 1981 was when it was designated by the governor, and I believe it became operational in 1982 with a whole staff of 2. It was organized under the Bloomington Plan Commission, City of Bloomington Plan Commission, and the designation is made by the governor in consultation with local officials. And we've operated under that since then. A series of bylaws were created over the years. Those bylaws went through a major update 2 years ago, I believe, or a year and a half ago. They're still available if anybody would like to see those bylaws for the operations on how we do our meetings, why we do our meetings, and the purpose and need of the organization itself. But yeah, we've been around since 1982, 81. Formally 1982, I believe, operationally. We're one of the newer MPOs in the area. In the state, outside of Columbus. Columbus was just only a couple of years ago. A majority of all the other MPOs were created during the 1970s. Does that answer your question, Nate?
Oh, thanks. Just curious. So yeah, we need to have a party now. Sure. This is the 40th anniversary, big year for the MPO.
Oh, God. I thought about that. Yeah. Beverages for all.
Right.
So I'm having my MPO 101 with some coffee, and I'm curious, do you do this presentation also for the TAC as well as the CAC each year?
Yes, I will. It's I call it a mandatory refresher. It's something we instituted 2017. I'm sorry, I came here in 2016, October 2016. October 2017 was when we began this process of MPO 101. And we do this every January with not only the policy committee, but the technical advisory committee and citizens advisory committee. And it has a little more weight now in the sense that since we're live, not only on Zoom, but also on Facebook Live, we could have other citizens that are out there too. And this gives them an opportunity to educate them about what the MPO is, what we do, and the how, why, wherefore of everything we do. So yes, the answer is yes. Short question.
Could somebody update the link? Because the link to the packet seems to be broken. I wanted to look at the slideshow, and it says, you step in the stream, but the water has moved on. This page is not here. Just thought people should know.
Go to the webpage for the MPO Policy Committee. Do a Google search Bloomington MPO Policy Committee with Google.
It's such a Zen 404 page.
I know. I was impressed.
Oh, I know. I had that the other day too.
Okay,
it's out there. It's posted on the boards and commissions.
Yeah, I found it there
with the packet.
Okay, thank you.
With the packet. In fact, the email, the revised email that you received yesterday.
Oh, I must have.
Had the updated.
I must have clicked on the old email. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, that's quite all right. We had a last-minute change thanks to the state, so that's why I had to send out an updated packet. Okay, is everybody on board? Literally.
I think so. I just had a quick question, Pat. I know, and we talked a few times this week, and with the census and everything, you stated that maybe new numbers could come in. What's the timeline on something like that? I know that census was in 2020, so do we foresee to see how the outcome of that is in 2021, or is it a couple of years lag?
The national administration wanted the Census Bureau to prematurely report the results of the census by December 31st. And there was a court challenge on that, national court challenge on that. And The ruling was that, that there were major flaws in the census up to this point in time. Those need to be corrected with minor surveys broadly around the entire nation, because there was an attempt only to count people who were citizens of the United States versus the residents of the United States as stipulated according to federal law. Federal ruling in the judge's case, this was about a week ago, was that the Census Bureau could continue on. The anticipation is that the Census Bureau will make their report then in February or March. It may even be April, depending on the flaws of the census itself. Once those numbers come out, we expect Bloomington urban area to grow substantially over what it did, what it was 10 years ago. And we would grow vis-a-vis Kokomo, vis-a-vis Muncie, vis-a-vis Terre Haute, and possibly other areas. And the federal funding that we receive, not only for planning, but also for capital improvement projects and also for transit operating assistance, transit capital assistance, is all determined based on census population, receive an allocation per capita. So therefore, more people translates to what I call mo money. And the more money situation is something that we're looking forward to because we desperately need additional funding for our capital projects, for highways, public transportation, and multimodal transportation alternatives. So that's a long answer to your question. I hope that answers it. Does it?
Yeah. It's just wanting a little clarification just for me. So, Steve?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Census Day occurred right as the lockdown was sending students home. And I am afraid for every college town in America, particularly ours. Are you concerned that there might be a substantial reduction in the population because students didn't answer the census or didn't understand that they were to answer the census according to their usual residence?
Truthfully, we had grave concerns, but then there were several discussions with university officials, and the university was making an extraordinary effort to make sure that every student counted because it matters to them in terms of funding. And I believe that Monroe County was one of the few counties in Indiana, few counties meaning urban and rural, where we achieved something like a 90 to 95% response rate. And then where the trouble came in was that usually the Census Bureau does a follow-up where they knock on doors or make virtual calls or what have you. And that was what the national administration tried to stop. But in answer to your question, I'm fairly confident, reasonably confident that Monroe County did an extraordinary job in Bloomington too, and the university also.
Do you have any kind of assumption of what our population will be, and do you think it'll include Owen County?
That I don't know about Owen County. I doubt it, just because of the physical distancing, even though there's that economic tie.
Well, that's the only indicator that they use to determine a metropolitan area is if the county has 25% or more commuters to the main county, then it counts as part of the area.
It very well could be. Well could be. I mean, the city of Bloomington, the population was estimated, last estimate was somewhere around 85,000. With Monroe County itself, it was somewhere in the vicinity of 140 to 145,000. Lisa, you correct me on that. But those were the last estimates made by the Census Bureau in 2018. And we were growing at a rate of 2,500 to 3,000 per year in that vicinity. I don't remember what Bloomington's 2010 census number was.
It was 80.
But was it 80?
80,405. Yeah.
Thought it was lower than that.
But the mid-decade estimates tend to underestimate Bloomington. I mean, I expect us to be at 90 when the number comes out, and Monroe will be even bigger.
I would anticipate substantially more, yes, in that vicinity.
My last
that's
question
highly possible.
is that they generally tend to announce metropolitan areas officially in the third year after a census. Do they really give you a population as soon as the first year after?
They do give numbers the first year, but those numbers are often revised. I mean, you can't take them to the bank and cash them in, is what I want to say.
Awesome.
Fake check. I would anticipate, given the advances in computer technology and estimation, population estimation, and the electronic ties of everybody to networks in terms of employment records, and things like that, I would think it would be highly accurate. The question is what I would call the hidden undocumented population that's out there. And we have that obviously in Bloomington and Monroe County. It's just a matter of how much and did they participate. We don't know, because there was an effort on the national level to scare away the undocumented.
Thank you so much. Those are interesting answers. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Pat. Didn't mean to put you on the spot for questions, but thank you. Very informative.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Next item is Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan.
And everybody's probably saying, what is this? And looking at the data on this, this is the Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan is a requirement of the Federal Transit Administration. This is an old requirement going back to 2006, long before some of us were born. The last update the MPO did on this was in February of 2012. The last 2 years, Federal Transit Administration and the Indiana Department of Transportation have requested that the Mpo staff update this plan. We obviously put that off because this is a somewhat intensive plan for coordinating with a multitude of various service delivery agencies in Bloomington and in Monroe County and surrounding area. And this is currently in the work program that we have for this year. In December, the Indiana Department of Transportation Public Transit Division contacted me and said, would you be interested in using a statewide consultant for this plan? And I promised them my firstborn son if they would do this. And so they did. Luckily, I still have my son. But anyway, the consultant, there's a statewide consultant hired for this. RLS and Associates is the name of the consulting firm. This is the same consulting firm who did the route optimization study for rural transit just approximately 2 years ago. My first conversation with a consultant was Tuesday at noon, and then we had follow-up email exchanges Wednesday afternoon, and this is partly why your packet is late, because I wanted to get an idea of what we would be doing and when we would be doing it. But today's meeting is just merely to introduce you to the plan itself. I included it in the packet. It's something that I was familiar with in the sense that I knew that we had to do it. When we were going to do it, it was another story. So it's out there. The big thing to look at on this plan is the consultant will do an assessment of available services in the urbanized area and surrounding rural area. They'll be looking at mass transit, medical related transportation services, private transportation service providers, transportation providers for older adults, nonprofit transportation providers, and they'll be identifying needs, strategies, and service needs for the entire area. They'll be working, the consultant is doing a dual plan at the same time. They're working not only in the urbanized area, but they're also working in what I would call the rural area, the rural surrounding area, where we're the donut, and I mean, we're the whole of the donut, and they're working around the counties of the donut itself. They're also working with other urbanized areas at the same time, but ours is unique. The first step in this plan is that we will establish a survey. The survey is the same survey used statewide. It will go out to a whole list of service providers, and then we, the MPO staff, if you look at page 5 of this plan, it gives you a list of all of the agencies, some of which don't exist anymore, that this will go out to. And then the MPO staff will be distributing the survey to policy committee, the technical advisory committee, and the citizens advisory committee mailing lists. We'll also be doing a public service announcement on this. It's an extensive process we'll go through, and the survey will be up and running for approximately 2 months. We will be posting that within the next couple of weeks. And the consultant itself will be meeting with us in March. They'll be meeting with the policy committee meeting in March, and then technical advisory committee meeting in March, and also the citizens advisory committee meeting in March. We hope to have a draft plan in April or May, and then we hope to have the plan adopted by the policy committee either in June or August of this calendar year. The plan itself is not comprehensive. I mean, you're looking at 35 pages here, single-spaced, but the meat of the effort is contacting all of these various social service agencies and determine what their transportation needs are. And the focus here is predominantly on older adults and individuals with disabilities. I hope that gives you a general idea of what the plan is. I encourage you to read it, but again, you may not want to read this close to bedtime. Yeah, and if you look at some of the elements of this, this is also what I would call an environmental justice orientation, in that we're looking for low to moderate income citizens, their accessibility to fixed routes in the urban area, not only Bloomington Transit, but IU Campus Bus and rural transit. And then we're looking at where those different private service providers are that provide transportation to the doctor, medical facilities of some type, shopping, previously social events, but we don't do that anymore. And a whole variety of things that are out there for people with that are mobility limited, either in a physical sense or also they don't have availability to an automobile. I'll take any questions anybody has.
Thanks, Pat.
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah, when does this have to be updated next by?
This calendar year. The anticipation is that we can have the update. We begin in earnest on this the end of this month. We anticipate having the plan actually completed by April, and then an adoption in May or June.
And do you need the participation of members of the MPO?
Yes, 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 we will. We will contact everyone on all three of the committees, and we'll also be doing a broad contact. If you look at page 5 of this coordinated human services public transportation plan. Ryan, can you go back to page 5 on that? Scroll back. Down, yeah, up. It will show you a list of agencies. Here we go. Some of them, but yeah, there we go. This was the list of social service agencies that provided transportation or had transportation service needs for people with disabilities or adults. This was in 2012. Like I said, some of these organizations may not exist now. I'm not even sure about how many of them actually exist. But these are the organizations that we will coordinate with. And not only the staff, but also the consultant. The consultant will be contacting everybody on this distribution list. The idea here is to ensure that everyone who has a transportation need will have access to transportation in some form or another, in public transportation in some form or another. So that way we're optimizing the mobility of everyone who is out there. And that's particularly important in this period of time because those with disabilities and mobility challenges, or even the older adults or the older adults without automobiles or access to private vehicles, it's critical that they have this public transportation access. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. So I know that, Pat, that this is tied to some federal funding because you and I discussed this. And I know that transit is in difficult straits because there's obviously a much downturn in revenues from people riding transit at this time. And the funding for transit on the federal level has not been increased in probably close to a decade. So I'm wondering, where exactly all the money to make sure that the underserved will benefit is actually going to come. Yes, we've got a new administration and maybe things will improve, but money is going to be tight everywhere. And I can imagine that although we'll come up with this policy, I'm just wondering how it gets enacted and how we ensure that our underserved, needy population is served with transit opportunities.
The updated plan is used to assess and determine the needs for those with mobility, disability issues, and also the older adults. And it's tied directly to operating assistance for BT access. It's also tied directly to rural transit's operation. And it's not only operating assistance, it's also capital assistance. If there's a need for additional transit vehicles out here, this plan will show where the need is and how many individuals that are out there. On the national level, we're looking at a reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Act this year. We're on a continuing resolution right now. And when Congress reconvenes under a new administration later this month, I anticipate that the new surface transportation bill will include a very intense focus on public transportation given the fare crisis which is out there. Bloomington Transit is currently operating on CARES money, or virus funds, where they're not charging fares at all. Everybody rides free. So revenue is not an issue for accessing public transportation right now. It's a matter of getting the vehicle to the door of the individual, or getting the person to the vehicle itself. So in answer to your question, I don't see that much of a problem. I mean, I look at it as more of an information problem of advising people that, hello, the services are out there. We have micro transit service available through Bloomington Transit. We have BT access available for door-to-door service. We also have rural transit out there with reservations for, again, door-to-door service for whatever your purpose is, or whatever your trip purpose is. So yeah, I look at it as more of a communication issue of making sure that people know services are out there, when they're available, how to use the services, and ensuring that they actually do access those services if they have needs.
And is that information generally left to BT and rural transit to disseminate to the public?
It will be coordinated with the list of all of these agencies that are here on this page.
Okay,
at minimum.
And I believe you said that there would be a survey by the consultant that would be disseminated. And I wanted to know if we wanted to share that with the public, because it will be important for input.
Yes, yeah. In fact, it'll be a public survey. Yeah, much like we did with the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, where we had a survey, a public survey like that. This will be in the same vein. I mean, the intent is to distribute the survey far and wide to make sure that we get as much coverage as possible and as much public knowledge available as possible. So that way we can really determine what the needs are with what I would call a high degree of statistical accuracy.
So we have Penny and then Kate.
I don't know, Pat, go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
No, I'm done. I just want to make sure that Sarah didn't have a follow-up.
I was going to ask how much some of the transportation needs are taken care of by like scooters, and because I don't know if you're taking those kinds of things into account with how I know that a lot of disabled people and people my age do not use scooters. That's not the issue, but there are certain parts of the population that do. And then also, as we go through this, there's been predictions that we will have in the not too distant future self-driving electric type of Uber vehicles that'll be on demand. So how will that impact what goes into all this?
But the focus of all of this is what they call Federal Transit Administration's, they call it it uses a bureaucratic term, 5310. And that program is for individuals with disabilities and older adults. Hopefully, individuals with disabilities and older adults aren't using scooters. It's making sure that they have public transportation. The last part of this title here is it's Coordinated Human Services Public Transportation Plan, and the focus is on public transportation. So that would include BT, campus bus, and also rural transit. And then on top of that would be those agencies coordinating with the list of all the service agencies that we had on that one page to ensure that they have the knowledge available for their constituents or the users that use their services, have that knowledge available on how to use the public transportation system, or how to ask for a ride, how to call up BT Access and access BT, or how to call up rural transit and use that, or if they have a disability, be able to use the campus bus to access these services too.
Yeah, I actually have a son with disability, and so I'm familiar with some of those services, but I can envision in 10 years from now, if there is sort of self-driving vehicles operated in an Uber type of system, that my son could use that for on-demand transportation.
I have a younger brother with cerebral palsy, and he doesn't drive either, and is reliant upon public transportation services. Yeah, I agree. The whole thing will change dramatically with self-driving vehicles, and that's wholly conceivably possible within the next 10 years. And in that case, there would probably be some sort of an electronic access of some type or another, where it would tie that service into the funding program where the service was paid for out of public transportation funds. The idea here is making sure that the public transportation service providers are meeting the needs of the individuals out there, and that the individuals out there know about the public transportation options available to them. Does that help you? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sorry, I had to unmute again. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, sure. And then who's next?
Kate.
Somebody else?
Yeah, and actually Penny's question was very similar to mine, in that kind of looking at that very comprehensive list. And obviously, like you pointed out, there are entities that are no longer around. But I noticed there are private companies. There's a taxi service. And I'm wondering about Uber and Lyft and some of these other companies that are not local, but could play a role in meeting the needs identified here. And are they going to be part of this survey, or are they invited to the table in any respect?
The consultant will contact those what I would call ride hailing services. Thank you. That's the term I was looking for. The consultant will contact them. Now, the fees that they charge, though, are not eligible for not eligible for federal funding reimbursement. The idea is to connect users, those with needs, to service providers who can provide them the service at no cost to minimal cost. Whereas Uber and Lyft have, since they're a private enterprise, they're going to charge a market rate. So the answer is yes, the consultant will contact them, but whether they're what I would call a participant in federal aid programs or not is somewhat doubtful.
Was Yellow Cab a participant?
Is Yellow Cab even still here in Bloomington?
No.
I mean,
no, but it's on this list. And so that's sort of what prompted my thinking. I guess that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. This list is grossly out of date since this is 2012, and the list may change even more because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So the consultant has a big task in front of them in terms of identifying who's out there, and then some of that we will fill in, also working through various committee members and different organizations, social service organizations here in Monroe County, to make sure that we've got a comprehensive list of everybody.
Is there a reason Maybe I'm missing it. I don't see either of the school districts in our county listed. And I would think that they would play a role to some extent.
Don't know. Good question. I don't know. Let me ask.
It's interesting. Thank you.
Sure, because I know they provide special services.
Right.
And
They
the
have-
school
They may
districts
come
can
out of it.
also, the school districts also do training for some of the special needs kids on how to ride public transportation.
Yeah, and I don't know what their funding program is for school transportation. But let me ask, Kate, I'll ask for you and find out.
Any other questions, comments? And Pat, thanks for taking this on and another project for you and a plan update. So you and Ryan always stay busy, so.
Woohoo. Okay. Yeah, and we will be coming to you next month on the Unified Planning Work Program and cost allocation plan and all the other things that we normally do in in February, March, and April of every year. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and please feel free to reach out to me also via email if you have any other questions or you think of something that we didn't cover today on this, because this is also new to us.
Great. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Ryan. Seeing no old business. Going on to
We still have one more.
on the
Oh,
agenda.
I'm sorry. Complete streets. I'm sorry.
Okay, you have that under new business.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to new business for complete streets policy review.
All right, here we go. Every year, the Complete Streets policy, I guess, must be reviewed by the MPO. So our three committees takes a look at it, at the policy annually, essentially just to look it over, make sure that we're not forgetting anything in it. Maybe we want to update something that may has changed. Maybe there's been new developments from the National Complete Streets Coalition that we would want to include in our local policy. But that being said, we don't necessarily need to change anything. And this is the exact same document that the policy committee passed last November, I believe it was, and that the Technical Advisory Committee and Citizens Advisory Committee looked at in November. So it is in the packet today and on the agenda just to see if we want to have a discussion on updating it from or like as it is now. And Pat or Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we made any revisions to it in November, but we were going to be looking at it within the next couple of months so we can update it in 2021 more comprehensively than we did in the past.
Right, at the CAC meeting, we simply, began to take a glimpse and are committed to looking at it more in depth in the next coming months to see if there's anything that we're missing from the citizens' point of view.
Policy has remained unchanged since November of 2018 when it was first adopted by the policy committee. And we do the annual review. We did it in 2019 and 2020. And normally we would do it at this meeting with policy committee, but since this is so early in the month of January, we elected to put this off and just bring it up for discussion this month and then February, if the committee wishes to reaffirm the policy as is or make modifications, then we can do that in February.
I assume that if members see something, Pat, you would like for them to email you and Ryan to let you know
Please,
what they're concerned about?
please, please.
So if I understand right, you're thinking of bringing it back to the policy committee in February?
Yes.
Are you going to wait, or I'm not sure if it fits in the timeline. I know Sarah said that the CAC was going to start discussing it over the next couple months. Does it make sense to bring it to the board in February? Do we have to do it on that timeline, or wait until we get more feedback from the CAC instead of doing it each month, but continuous changes?
We can postpone. We can postpone it. I mean, this is, I look at this as being your complete streets policy. You as in all three committees.
Right.
The staff just puts it together. So yeah, I mean, it's up to the various committees what they want to do. I mean, if they want to leave the policy unchanged, that's fine. If they want to make modifications to the policy, or as Sarah said, add teeth. I'm not sure what the teeth are, but add teeth to it, then yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to come back up in February for the policy committee to be postponed until some later date after the technical advisory committee and citizens advisory committee make recommendations on what they would like to do to modify the policy itself.
I guess that just seems like it would make sense to me personally that we give the CAC, TAC time to look it over if it's not a rush, and then that way we can incorporate those ideas and suggestions all at the same time and be able to pass one policy. That's just my opinion. I'm open for any suggestions. So
I agree. I think it'd be easier just to do it at once.
and I see a lot of heads shaking yes, so I'm gonna say that that seems like the kind of consensus. I don't think we have to take a real vote, but I think that would be a good plan to do that. Maybe look at this again, maybe in March or April.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, thank you, guys.
Communications from committee members, non-agenda items, or topic suggestions for future agendas.
I hate to ask again, but when are we going to see the crash report, guys?
Oh, it's coming to the CAC and TAC this month.
Yay!
Yeah, and I think that, Pat, I did send you a copy of the county's crash report that was completed, correct?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, you did.
So, all right.
Yes, thank you.
So that'll come to policy committee in February, is that correct?
Depending on actions of the CAC and TAC.
Actions?
Or
You mean like
recommendations.
acceptance of the
Or
report?
acceptance, yeah, whatever the word is for that.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you. Any other items for future agendas or topic of discussion? Kate?
I'm wondering, and I believe I brought this up many, many months ago, and I let it slip in terms of following up. But the presentation, the Mpo 101 slide kind of jogged my memory about, you do a lot of interesting stuff with public engagement and public outreach. And I'm wondering if we could spend some time at some meeting where we have a lighter agenda maybe and talk about the strategies that we're using and what strategies maybe we could employ that we aren't using, maybe what's our success rate? How are we feeling about, how are we reaching different audiences, different segments of the population? I would be interested in having that discussion. And this is a really well-informed group. So I'd love to do it with the whole group if anyone else would be interested.
From the staff perspective, we would welcome that. There's always room for improvement. Last year when we did the Metropolitan Transportation Plan virtually, using the community survey that we did with what was 459 respondents, a statistically significant response rate. I mean, we were in the 95% confidence level on that one. That was a first. And so, yeah, Ryan and I would more than welcome any ideas anybody has for greater outreach or greater participation by the community itself. Particularly now that it looks like I like to say we're rounding third base, maybe we're rounding second base on the pandemic. But yes, yeah, absolutely. We would welcome that with open arms.
Great idea.
When you were actually, Pat, when you were going very briefly over MPO 101, I was thinking that I would really like to see it as a freestanding CATS program where over, a half an hour or whatever, someone could interview you, you would present it, but it would not be simply tied to these policy committee meetings. I think that people are less likely to see it if it's tied into this meeting than if it were freestanding and a civic engagement program that they could simply view and learn something about the MPO.
A virtual town hall.
I would totally interview you, Pat. That would be fun.
I really like this idea.
I would have beverages nearby.
High production values. Let's just say that.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, I don't know what we would call it. Communications, open communications.
Oh, don't worry, I'll think of something.
Oh, I'm sure. But
that's what I fear.
It's a way for people to learn about where roadway decisions are made, and I think the public really doesn't understand, and that they need to. So I'm sure Steve will come up with some fancy schmancy name.
Pat, I have just one word for you. Just one word. Podcast.
I just want a second.
Think about it.
Idea.
You gotta have the visuals with it. Come on.
I love it.
Oh God. Oh God.
I want to
Pat Martin's
idea too.
Vlogger.
Oh geez. Oh bye.
I want to second and third that idea too, and it would also be the second video that I play for my students that features Steve Vollen. The other is the IU students in the census video that you made.
You still play that thing? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's still relevant.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh God.
That must be Rachel.
Yeah.
All right, so we're anxious to see the interview, and I'll be sitting at home with my adult beverages watching Pat.
Well, the bullets sweat from my forehead. Yes, right. Yeah. How do I answer this?
All the bullet points sweating from your forehead. You can just sweat out all the
bullets. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You and Ryan would do great.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I wish it were radio. That would be so much easier.
That can be arranged, Pat. I know people.
You called in once. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
All right. Well, and if you want to do a call in, then we can all call in and make it really overwhelming and call with questions for you.
No cameras.
No cameras. We'll all just have our turn of making calls.
This year's already looking
Where's
up.
our money?
Right, Pat.
Where's our money?
Exactly.
Yeah. More money. More money. It's all about
All
more
right.
money. Yeah.
So upcoming meetings, any other topics for suggestions? Seeing.
If we could get
none?
2 ferns to sit between, that'd be the best.
All right, so our next technical advisory committee meeting is January 27th at 10 a.m. Citizens Advisory Committee is January 27th at 6:30 p.m. And the Policy Committee will meet February 12th, 2021 at 1:30, and these are all still virtual meetings. So I move for adjournment.
Ferns are technical
Yay.
advice. I move to adjournment.
I second.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.